So delving a bit deeper into the QT changes, just so that if you're making an opinion, it's going to be an informed one. I do this every single year, so this is nothing new to me. But I wanted to just see for myself how these, compare to last year. And I'll explain each column so it won't be too confusing, right? So this is the new minimum numbers to qualify for nationals, right? Hitting the QT or hitting above the QT doesn't guarantee you a spot at nationals. You also have to, rank top 16 in GL for that weight class, which means there are 128 spaces available. Last year, 112 because there were 14 per weight class. I went first to check how many lifters totaled above the new minimums, and as we can see from last year, both sides, a good amount above the new minimums. So we shouldn't see any holes. We shouldn't see any holes in sign-ups, but as you can see from the British this year, we had a lot of spaces when it came to people not turning up for the British. About 20 on the women's side and like 30 on the men's. So still a lot of spaces that weren't filled, despite the QTs being, despite qualifying being a lot harder. And this here is the 16th ranked total in the country for each weight class. And as you can see, for pretty much every weight class, the 16th ranked total is above the minimum threshold, which means if everyone who was like very strong did sign up for nationals, then just hitting the QT again wouldn't be enough to secure your spot. You'd have to go a bit, beyond that. For example, in the 93s last year, 78.5 was 16th, which means, you'd have to, in theory, like do above that to get a spot. But you look at last year's nationals and you can see the last total that came last place, of course, is far below the 16th total for most classes. So what this means is actually qualifying for nationals last year is, wasn't too bad, it wasn't too hard. And if you compare the last totals last year compared to the minimums that are set this year, qualifying for last year's British is easier than this year, right? So things have been made harder now to qualify for nationals. And of course, we lost the route to qualify for nationals via Southerns, the English, Scottish Championships, which I'll cover in a moment. Also want to cover is this is how many lifters who were at nationals totaled above the new minimum, which means for the men's side, 16 lifters, totals would not qualify them this year. Women's side, 29. We move further onto the home nation competitions like the Scottish and the Welsh that I chose to compare for this section here. This is me looking at how many lifters basically won the Scottish for essentially no reason. That's how I kind of see it. And this is me seeing how many lifters totaled above the least total at nationals. And as you can see, 7 of the 8 winners from the Scottish totaled above the least total at nationals, meaning these guys all would have qualified if they competed anywhere outside the Scottish. Essentially, winning Scottish didn't provide them any benefit for getting internationals. And whether or not they actually compete at nationals, you can see 4 out of the 8 actually went on to compete after winning the Scottish. On the Welsh side, again, 7 out of 8 men who didn't really need to win the Welsh to go nationals, and only 3 of them actually went on to compete there. Women's side, all 8 women from the Scottish Championships could have qualified for nationals essentially without winning the Scottish, and 6 of them went the Welsh side. You can see the numbers here. So the way I see this information is QT's process is harder. Last year, competing at like Southerns, Northerns, the All English didn't really give you much benefit for competing or qualifying for nationals, if you're strong enough to win those competitions, you're strong enough to essentially QT from just having a good total in of itself. And this year, I guess that means like the All English and whatever is actually more valuable because your chances of competing at nationals has been reduced. That is all.